You're listening to How to 20-something, the best podcast that helps both men and women navigate their 20s and learn how to adult across all aspects of their lives. We're going to focus on career, relationships, finances, fitness, nutrition, and all of the common challenges and obstacles a typical 20-something will face in this post-college life. I'm your host, Jess Diamond, and I am the CEO and founder of Jess Diamond Coaching, where I help young professionals get their shit together, gain their confidence, and own their life. No one prepares you for this adulting world, so allow me to help you feel like you are no longer a chicken running around with its head cut off, and that you actually know what the hell is going on and what your next step to take is. Welcome to How to 20-something. Welcome back to another episode of How to 20-something, where today we're going to talk about the fear of wasting your 20s. Things like you need to travel, date around, change careers, go out every weekend, do it all during this singular decade because this is when you'll have the most time and energy to do so. It's the idea that you need to be living it up right now, that this is your only chance. Because what comes next is marriage or kids and backaches and exhaustion and mortgages and boring responsibilities, which strips you of being able to take advantage of all of those fun things later on. Which isn't true. This way of thinking is doing a lot more harm than you might think. Now, I'm a huge advocate for having fun in your 20s, but I think it's important for you to identify what that fun is. I spoke on this when I delivered my This Is Not Your Life talk because it falls into the comparison trap of doing the things you think you're supposed to be doing rather than what it is you actually want to be doing. It's something I battled with for a while when I first moved to Charlotte in 2022. Things had just opened back up officially since the global shutdown, and I felt like I needed to say yes to going out to the bars every weekend because that's what everyone else does. And if I want to have fun in my 20s and make the most of this move to this new city and make friends, then I need to do so too. Even though I stopped drinking during the pandemic and never picked it back up outside of an occasional sip here or there. And I love my sleep and hate drunk people. I justified going out with the compromise that I would be home by midnight so I could still go to sleep and not be annoyed by everyone reaching their drunkest, sloppiest points of the night. I called it my Cinderella era. I'm sure I've mentioned it on past episodes. It's not to say I didn't have fun when I went out. I have fun wherever I am as long as the music is good. If the music sucks, I'm bored. But if I had it my way with the friends I was going out with, I would much rather hang out on someone's couch and make memories we can all remember and feel good about the next day. It's something I definitely could have created for myself, but fed into not wanting to waste my 20s or this decision to move to a different city or put myself as an outcast to these new people I was meeting. I felt like I needed to prove to them that I can hang, that I'm a fun life coach who does it all. Call it maturity or getting over the fear of wasting my 20s, but at 28, almost 29 years old, I am well past that phase of my life. Actually, as I'm planning out this episode, there was a holiday event occurring between two very well-known groups in Charlotte, Y Happy Hour and Morning Miles. And one of the trainers at my gym is 24, and she begged me to go with her. It was on a Thursday night, and it was $25 to go. And I was like, I have the $25. But I really don't feel like spending it on this experience to be around people I don't really care to be around in this kind of setting. And I have to be up early the next day. This event is what I would call in my college days a place to be facey, which is where anyone who's anyone is going to show up and you need to show your face to be on the in crowd. Something I really do not care about at my age, but this trainer is not my age. She's 4 years younger and is still in that stage of life and single. And that is totally fine. It's a rite of passage as long as you're not falling into the trap of only going because you're afraid of regretting not going. The fear of regret in this example is your fear of missing out, which is the fear of wasting your 20s. Now, this fear comes in many different forms, with one of them being missing out on the fun parts as I've been explaining so far. And the other side being falling behind on major milestones a majority of people hit between the ages of 25 and 30. So I think the first thing you need to do, if your fear lies on the fun side of this decade, is to make a list of all the things you find fun, which what brings you enjoyment, fills up your cup, makes your heart feel whole. Like for me, I love a slow weekend morning where I wake up at 7, cuddle my boyfriend, go downstairs to read my book while I sip on coffee. I love grabbing dinner with a girlfriend or going for a walk. I love when my book club meets and we chat over coffee for an hour and a half. I love working out outside when it's sunny and a bit warmer than right now. I love game nights. I love celebrating people, whether it's a wedding, a promotion, a birthday, you name it. For me, going out to the bars just to go out to the bars because it's the weekend is not fun. It's an energy sucker. But maybe for you listening, that is the most fun thing you could imagine yourself doing on your weekends. And that's amazing. As long as it's something that feels good to you, regardless of what someone else has to say about it. How you spend your free time in your 20s is confusing. And it isn't at the same time. It's confusing because, to the point of this episode, you don't want to waste this time of your life with being boring or just wanting to be relevant with your peers. Sure, drunk stories are entertaining as hell, but dig into what you like to do. And I can almost guarantee it's not just going out every weekend. There's more to life and memories than another night out. It's not confusing because you have free will over your life, what you want it to look like, and what you want to do about it. The second half of the fear of wasting your 20s is in these milestones that I mentioned a few minutes ago. You don't want to fall behind everyone else. And every October to December, your feed is probably filled with engagements, different proposals. I know at least mine is. And if you're single and constantly seeing people getting engaged, you're going to feel like you're doing something wrong in your 20s or that something is wrong with you. And when I tell you I get this feeling, believe me, I get this feeling. As I'm planning out this episode, I finally dug up the timing of everything that happened in December of 2024 because I was unwell during that month. Let me tell you. Here's the backstory. 4 months, I was crushing on this guy I kept running into. If you've heard of the invisible red string theory, that was happening to me in real time, where you're connected to someone by this invisible string and you'll finally meet when the timing is right. We ran into each other originally at the supermarket, where he was in line directly behind me. A few hours later, we were at the same birthday party. A week later, we were at the same place that my book club was meeting for dinner. And a week after that, he showed up to the run club that I was going to frequently. Like, it was crazy, the amount of times I was running into him. Well, in December, one of my girlfriends was dating one of his friends. So we coordinated a cute little double date. And it was a really good date. The jokes were flowing, things were going well. And the next night he texted me he wasn't interested, and it crushed me. Rewind to 3 hours. 3 hours prior to receiving that text, I was playing soccer and is when I met Ryan. But I wasn't interested in Ryan like that, so I was so devastated about this other guy. I was crying, I felt unlovable, felt as though no one will ever want to be with me and that I'm going to remain single for forever and ever, and dating is the hardest thing to ever exist. And I still think dating is really hard. But when I say I was unwell, I need you to believe me, I was not okay in the head. The next week is when Ryan messaged me, and here we are, over a year later, full of love and getting ready to move in together. But I tell you this because it's so easy to get caught up in your own story of I'm missing out on the love part of my 20s because a relationship was something I really, really wanted for myself. And then it'll flip around in a second. As long as you continue to put yourself out there and take the risk and say yes to a date with someone you weren't that interested in and is now someone you can't imagine life without. And if it's not the love side of your 20s that you're feeling behind in, then it's your career or your friendships or your body or your finances. On the topic of feeling like you're wasting your 20s is something I like to talk about with wasting time. So if you feel like you're wasting your time during this decade of your life because you feel like you don't have any time left over to do anything after work, then the quickest fix I have for you to start enjoying this working world, the world of employment, is by downloading my resource, 3 Ways to Maximize Your 5 to 9 After Your 9 to 5, which you can do right in the show notes. You just have to enter your name and email, and then I'll have that PDF sent directly to you. So that's in regards to wasting your time, of not feeling like you're doing enough with your time after work, that you're working 5 days to live for 2. Now, it's also possible you feel like you're wasting your career development because you haven't finalized your path yet. I had a call recently with someone who is so stressed about locking in her career path because she keeps changing jobs. I think she's had like 5 different jobs in the last year alone. She sees her fiance with his set career path, where he knows exactly what he's doing with his life and how he's climbing the ladder and when that's going to happen and how much money he'll be making with each position and when. And she's floating out in space and approaching her 30s with no set path. And that all this time has been a waste for her in regards to her career, and she's failing at this adulting thing. When it comes to having your best friends in your city, you can feel like an outsider because everyone has their own groups already established, and you can barely make one friend who sticks or that you really connect with. So you feel like you're wasting the friend side of your 20s, especially if you've ever watched the show Friends and are like, where are my people? Where's my experience to be like that show where everyone lives right across the street or right across the hall and we're together all the time and it's super chill and it's amazing and we're like family. It's really hard to watch a show like that and not have the same thing for yourself. But pick any example where you feel behind and it's going to pair right along with not wanting to waste your 20s. And the last thing you want to do is start over. In your career, in a new city, in a new relationship, with a new friend. You have this huge resistance to end something, even if it's not serving you to the highest ability. Because what happens next feels like you're starting over, even when you're not. But it then means you're behind, which means you've wasted this particular part of your 20s. Because everyone who has locked in that area of their life is constantly moving forward at a steady pace, and you've hit this standstill. And maybe even started to step backwards, even when that's not what's actually happening. There's this unspoken belief that this decade is when you're supposed to finalize everything for the rest of your adult life. And while yes, this decade is to build up your foundation for the rest of your adult life, it's not the time to feel like you have to lock everything in for forever and ever. In fact, there's never going to be a point in your life where you have to lock in anything. You're an adult now, sweetheart. You have free will to keep changing your mind again and again. I mean, you don't want to be irrational and unpredictable with constantly changing things, but I also don't want you to feel trapped in your decisions because you're never trapped. You can always pick a new path, and you're not wasting the previous time spent on the quote-unquote wrong path by changing directions. I recently had a client feel this way when we were talking about his career because he went to school for 4 years studying a particular field, and we were looking at some other options that were unrelated, just to get him working and doing something he doesn't hate. And his response was, well, I feel like I would have just wasted the last 4 years studying something else to not even have it as my career. To which I reminded him that I went to school for interior design for 4 years, and that is not at all what I do now. That it's okay to change things up based on your goals, which are also going to change with age. I say that because some careers are very hard to get your initial foot in the door without the connections, and connections take time to build. But that doesn't mean you'll never have that career. It's just moving out from your parents' house is the primary goal, and that comes with finding a job to start making money, to then save the money. So it's not to say that what you picked to study and the time spent doing so was a waste. It's just possible that it's not happening for you right now. I know for me, it just wasn't a right fit entirely. And you're allowed to say you tried something and it just wasn't for you without feeling like the time spent trying was a waste or that you failed. Wasting your 20s isn't what you think it is. It isn't changing your mind, starting from scratch, leaving relationships, switching careers, moving cities. It's staying in situations that are no longer a fit because you're afraid of the next thing being worse or wrong. But this decade is filled with so many different learning experiences, and it's a time that really starts to shape who you are as an adult, not in a place where you're stuck. It just means you're going to outgrow people, places, and things pretty frequently, and enjoy different things than everyone else, and view life differently as a whole. So if you're learning, if you're testing the waters of something new, and if you're making choices based on what feels good to you and is beneficial to your future self, then it's impossible to waste your 20s. Hindsight is always going to be 20/20. So it's always going to feel like you should have made a different decision in your past. But that's not how life works. All you can do is make a decision that suits you based on what you want right now and going forward. No one is ahead or behind. No one has life figured out. You feel that way when you compare yourself to what everyone else is up to. It's a common fear to have, whether it's in regard to the fun part or the milestone part, and it takes a lot of self-awareness to break that comparison trap. But trust me when I tell you this, nothing is a waste if it's what's right for you in that moment. There's not time wasted with a friendship that ended after 2 years. There's not time wasted at a job that sucked for 6 months of your life. There's not time wasted dating someone for 3 years and ending things. Because each of those experiences brought you some extra wisdom about yourself and the world and to who you are today. So that the next decision you make is even more thought out than the last one. Because nothing is a waste if you don't let it be. Which is exactly how I'm going to wrap up this episode. So, if you liked what you heard, learned something new, or know someone who is afraid of wasting a piece of their life, then do me a favor and share this episode. Send it to a friend, post it on social media, just please, please, please do whatever you can to help me expand my reach to all the 20-somethings out there navigating the most confusing decade of their lives. And as always, I can't wait to be in your headphones again next week with another brand new episode.